This is next in my Saturday Superlatives. Obviously, it's Sunday morning, but looking back at this past week, to include Saturday, of college football. And one of my favorite wide receivers, and he was a guy I had noticed a little bit before, but just hadn't really made a strong impression, but he's made an impression on me this year, is Zay Jones of Boston College. Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers. There's another guy named Zay Jones, but Zay Flowers, who I think might be better than Zay Jones. Great body control, acceleration, gets in and out of his cuts. A little bit of Stephon Diggs to him, but I think he might even better straight line speed. But 8 catches, 180 yards, couple of touchdowns, and was just uncoverable at times. Moving on. His teammate, Hunter Long. Some love for the tight ends this week. Hunter Long. 8 catches, 109 yards, a touchdown. He's obviously another guy who's going to play on Sundays. And I have to mention this super duper freshman. So when Jonathan Adams went down, he'd sort of been really a linchpin of Arkansas State's offense, and we all wondered what's going to happen. Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen. Corey Parker's going to set a bunch of records, some conference records, team records, all kinds of records. 9 catches, 310, not 110, not 210, 310 yards receiving, 4 touchdowns, a bunch of records, and he's going to push his way on some people's freshman All-American teams. And welcome back, old friend, to Chris Holaby. Obviously, he is part of that terrific tandem up there at Ohio State. And at times he takes a back seat. Well, not talent-wise, but this game he reminded you, oh, yes, I'm still Chris Holaby. 10 catches, 139 yards, and a touchdown. And once again, another guy who's just smooth. A little bit like Robert Woods. And speaking of welcome back, old friend, a guy who's come back from injury, had a scary concussion a few weeks ago, but Kyle Pitts, the first half of the draft tight end from Florida, 7 catches, 128 yards, and once again, impossible to cover. He made, once again, for him, a catch that I guess he probably makes twice a day in practice, but, just full extension, 8.5, 9, 10 feet in the air. Who knows how many feet in the air? Probably 10.5 feet in the air, maybe more. Craziness. Speaking of craziness, Damante Smith. I know he's probably not going to run the world's fastest 40. His combine and his pro day probably won't be mind-boggling, but his play is mind-boggling. 8 catches, 231 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's not sneaking up on anybody. I think everybody knows he's coming, but somehow he always manages to work his way open. I mentioned Ian Book earlier. I have to talk about one of his receivers. Javon Mckinley, very good day at the office. 7 catches, 111 yards, and he's a guy that, since he came to the program, it took a while to really find his way in, but he's settled in now. Jalen Hall, Western Michigan, very good day. And only 4 catches, only needed 4, 119 yards, 2 touchdowns. And he and Eskridge, number 1 and number 11, Eskridge being number 1 and Hall being number 11, those are both guys I think will play on Sundays. Western Michigan has some dudes. Hey, more tight end love. Jaden Weinermeyer from Texas A&M, 8 catches, 89 yards, 2 touchdowns. And frankly, I think they should target him more. I don't think there's a lot of people who can cover this guy. So, Jimbo knows more about offense than I'll ever know, but I would try to get the ball to that tight end's hands. So, moving on. Tylan Wallace. Up and down year for Oklahoma State, but Tylan Wallace has been extremely reliable. 8 catches, 89 yards, couple of touchdowns, and would have had a better day if not for some struggles from the quarterback position. Moving on. Here's a Chicago kid. I love when I can big up a Chicago kid. Tyreese Ritchie of Northern Illinois, 7 catches, 111 yards, a touchdown, and one eye popper of a play where it looked like he was down, but he rolled over the body of the guy who was tackling him and popped up, took off for a 59 or something yard touchdown. But a kid that I've noticed since his high school days, and I wondered if he'd emerge. Well, he has now. Moving on. And another tight end at Utah, Brant Keithy. 8 catches, 76 yards, and once again, he had some, very near misses to having even bigger plays, but he's a guy who sort of undersized, but he's going to be one of those move tight end H-backs at the next level. Those are my pass-catching Saturday Superlatives.